Hey there, excited to have my next guest on, Ken Wimberly, to discuss investing in single tenant triple net lease properties. An asset class that has done extremely well during the pandemic. We'll learn more about this asset and more coming up.
Welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Podcast, your source for real-world strategies focused on creating long-term wealth, cash flow, and financial freedom through real estate. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful real estate investors and thought leaders, we provide you the tools to succeed and to reach the lifestyle you always wanted. And now, your host, Dwaine Clarke.
Hello and welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Show. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke, and today we have Ken Wimberly. He serves as the Chief Visionary Officer of KW Net Lease Advisors, specializing in single tenant, triple net lease retail, and medical office investment sales. Ken, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And how you doing, my friend?
Dynamite. Pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me as a guest.
Absolutely. So yeah, another fellow broker that specializes in net lease. Really, it's a pleasure to have you on and kind of learn a little bit more about this asset class that, like I mentioned in my intro, that has done pretty well overall as an asset class during the pandemic period. So for our listeners who are looking at diversifying, looking at different asset classes, this is something you definitely should be considered. So I really have a pleasure of having you on. But for people who are not familiar with your background, will you talk about how you got started in real estate, and we'll get into the net lease market.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, almost 20 years now in real estate. 2002, entered the real estate market. First 6 years of my real estate business was primarily as a land broker, and really specifically as a buy-side land broker. I didn't take any listings the first 6 years of my business. I had a handful of commercial, actually residential real estate developers. So they would go buy 50 to 200 acres, carve it up, go get it entitled, cover it up in a single family lot, sell them to home builders. Occasionally there would be a out parcel that I'd help them sell for commercial out parcels, but mostly it was buy side acquisition, going and finding land deals to either buy outright or assemble with other tracts of land and turn them into residential subdivisions. So that led me after that into, I ended up launching my own small brokerage. Did that for about a year, and then wanted some horsepower behind me and joined up with Sperry Van Ness, and I was with Sperry for a couple of years. And I was with Sperry like when the 2008 kind of downturn kind of came through. So 2008-9, did a lot of whatever we could to keep the wheels spinning at the moment, and ended up doing a lot of bank REO work and helping get rid of some of these distressed assets that banks were taking back. Did that for a couple of years, and then eventually made my way into the KW ecosystem with KW Commercial. And at that point, hired my first business coach, hired a real estate business coach at that point. And we decided to kind of go focus on a particular niche and asset class, and ended up being net lease investments that we decided to focus on. And it was a great thing. Took like most things, a year or two of really diving into it and studying and learning and meeting people and creating a network to start getting into it. But we scaled a sizable business over the next number of years, and building a brokerage operation to over 100 million a year in sales. And that led to lots of real estate investments into laundromats that I'm now involved in, and some other things. So, but that journey into the net lease investments really started around 2011, 2012. We really got deep into that. And since then, it's really investment sales is on a brokerage side. The only thing that I've really focused on investments, we're in more distressed shopping center investments is what we focus on. But on brokerage, it's primarily we help folks buy and sell net lease investment sales.
Can you, for the people who are not familiar with, I've talked about it before and stuff like that, but for our newer listeners that's coming on, when they hear, triple net lease or net lease, like, cause they're used to hearing, they know what a residential apartment or a self-storage building. Can you kind of explain what that is for our audience?
Yeah, happy to. It's funny. I actually wrote a white paper on this a few years ago because even today, so many people just are not familiar with the asset class. And when we say triple net, the triple net refers to taxes, insurance, common area maintenance. Someone's got to pay for those things on a property. With, for an apartment, for instance, or a single family home, it's typically the landlord is paying for those things right there, and they're collecting rent. Well, in a triple net investment, I do like a single tenant triple net investment, often the tenant is paying for those things. They're paying for taxes, they're paying for insurance, they're paying for all the maintenance on the building right there. So for an investor or landlord, it can be, if structured right, a mostly hands-off investment. So a lot of folks that sell out of apartments, they've built a fortune from moving from small apartments to big apartment complexes, yet it's a lot of maintenance and hassle and management of those assets. They'll sell out of those, move into single tenant triple net, and significantly reduce their operating time spent on the business.
Awesome. Yeah, there's definitely, like we call it here, mailbox money, because especially if it's a net lease thing. As far as kind of the your focus, do you guys work national? I know KW is a national brand, but your office, do you guys specifically work in that Texas market, or you guys also kind of have a nationwide presence as well?
We've got a nationwide network. We've done deals in 14 states, but 80% of those deals are in Texas. It's our backyard. It's one of the hottest states to be in. There's all kinds of money flowing into Texas from many, many other states. And so we're, the vast majority of what we do is here, but we've done deals in 14 states.
And as far as kind of the forward look into 2021, I've been reading, like I said, a lot of the data. Net lease has been holding strong. In particular, a lot of the essential businesses, like dollar stores, pharmacies, fast food, and things like that. Can you kind of talk about what you've been seeing in your data? I know you probably get access to a lot of other data, work with KW, as far as kind of where we see it heading into the future. I know interest rates are low, cap rates seem to be pretty steady, but what are you seeing on your end?
Everything you're saying seems to be the case today. And certainly the last couple of quarters of the year remain strong with net lease investments, remain strong with investors out there in the market actively pursuing and doing and closing deals. I am so out of the business of predicting the future, though. As we know, so many things could potentially happen, barring political unrest, social unrest, crazy things that really jar the market, or some type of big dip in the markets that could affect everything. Then I see triple net investments remaining as a really strong asset class. Like I mentioned before, a lot of folks will transition out of other asset classes where they built wealth and into triple nets as a way to park their money.
And as far as kind of like the overall Texas market, I know, like I said, that's one of the main tech states that everyone's like want to just pour money into. I'm seeing that's coming out of like California, New York, New Jersey, and things like that. What are you seeing as far as kind of the new development side? Are you talking to developers, hearing any more new development because of the demand heading into the state of Texas?
It's continuing. That's been happening for a number of years, and that continues today. I mean, I think what both Tesla and Oracle announced that they're on their way into Texas right now. So there's continuing demand right there. That affects industrial space. That affects all the retail that's going to go around it. It affects housing that's going to go around these very, very large corporations that continue to relocate here. And the housing, of course, is the future predictor of demand for retail.
And as for the people who are like very interested in this asset class to invest, I know there's probably like a real long list of different tenants you can choose from. What has been kind of the most popular ones that you've been dealing with, and then ones that you've been kind of suggesting for clients that are looking to to buy into a net lease investment?
So a lot of folks that start to get interested in it, they're interested in that $1 to $2 to $3 million price range right there. And so for dollar stores are right in that zone right there. Fast food restaurants you can find in that zone. So a lot of net lease fast foods, some Taco Bells, some Chick-fil-A's are pushing upwards three and beyond there right there. But there's fast food, there's dollar stores, there's Starbucks, there's auto parts stores are in that realm right there too. So there's a handful that we've done quite a few of those type of transactions.
And it's kind of, we had talked before we started recording, and you talk about kind of brokerage is kind of like one element of your life, and you have like a true passion for entrepreneurship, and you getting into different projects. You had mentioned as far as kind of like an app and a laundromat. Can you talk about those projects? As I'm in the same boat as I kind of utilize brokerage as kind of a vehicle to earn cash in order to invest in real estate and do other different projects. Let's talk about your passion of love.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, for anyone that's in the brokerage business, I highly encourage you. You know, it can be a business that that can reward you financially. Take that money, become an investor yourself, and invest into the things that matter to you, the cash flow assets. So through brokerage, it led me into a few things. One, I ended up in a Keller Williams franchise. It bought into a Keller Williams franchise, ended up buying into laundromats. So now with a couple of partners of mine that I've wanted to be in business with for a long time, we've started a chain of laundromats called Laundry Luv, LUV. So you can go to laundrylov.com, check those out. But we're mission-based laundromats. We're large store formats, fully staffed, brand new machines in there, with a children's play area and a children's reading area, and beautiful picnic tables for families to sit down and eat lunch or dinner while their laundry's being done right there. And their kids can play in our play area and read books in our reading area. And frankly, our books are all kind of stamped, with love from Laundry Luv right there. And we encourage people to take those books home. So if someone's reading a book, take it home. A lot of the impoverished communities, it's a crazy stat that many in the impoverished communities, it said that 1 in 300 homes has books for children in those homes in the impoverished communities. Like my child in our home has probably 100 books in our house. So that stat baffled me and my partners, and we wanted to do our part to make an impact in that. So we had a kids reading program in our laundromats. And then the other that you mentioned is Legacy of Love. It's a parent to child journaling app. So it's one safe, secure digital home for parents or grandparents to capture moments, memories, lessons that they will one day want to pass down to their children. You can annotate it with audio, certainly text, video, tell the story of your children's life through your eyes and through your voice, and one day pass those stories down to your children so that they can relive those. They can pass down to their children. Often when parents or grandparents die, the regrets of those that are living are that I didn't get more of their stories. I didn't hear more about their childhood or about what they thought about me or this kind of thing. And this is a way for parents and grandparents to tell that story and pass it on to their loved ones.
I love that a lot because, like I said, me and my wife, we take a lot of pictures, and sometimes when you kind of get overwhelmed, you're just doing a lot of pictures, and you kind of stack them away somewhere, and you don't find them and things like that. So I'm assuming with your app, you're able to kind of organize your thoughts and be able to kind of properly archive them for the purposes of passing them on. So that's a really great project.
Well, you mentioned pictures. So in this phone, I think I've got 15,000 photos in this picture, and the photos can become noise. Really, they're great that they're there, but when there's 15,000, it's like white noise, and there's so many. And so what the app with Legacy of Love does, it allows you to select the 10 or 15 or 20 or 1, whatever photos that were really meaningful for a particular story, and then you tell the narrative around that, because the photos are great, but if your children are looking at that photos, they're maybe not going to mean anything to them, or not mean the same thing that they mean to you. But when you're telling the narrative about the trip you took and the people you spent the time with and the little adventures you took with your kids when you were on there, even if they kind of remembered that, it's really going to really bring back the full memory and the full experience of that for them down the road.
Absolutely. But take us through a typical workday for you. I know you have your brokerage, you have your other entrepreneurial ventures. Can you tell us like a typical workday for you, and do you have any special morning routines?
Yeah, so my day starts at 3:45. Alarm goes off. By the way, I'll tell you, people always ask, well, if your day starts at 3:45, when do you go to bed? Answer is like by 9 p.m. I'm in bed. But the day starts at 3:45 a.m. Alarm goes off, wake up, make some coffee, drink some water. I'm now forcing myself to drink a bottle of water before I have my first cup of coffee. But I'll sit down there, and the first thing I do is I'll meditate for 10 minutes. And then after meditation, I'll write in my journal, actually. So I'll either write in my personal journal, where I'm just kind of writing. The format I'll follow in my personal is I'll write down a quote that I love. I keep a list of about 300 quotes, and I'll scroll through those quotes and choose kind of what speaks to me for that day. And I'll write down a quote that I love. I'll write down 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 things I'm excited about that's coming up in my life. What's getting me jazzed? What's got me excited? And then I'll write down a goal as if it had already materialized. And so for about the past 6 months, I've been writing down the same goal over and over and over, as if it had already manifested, materialized right there. And then at the end of the day, I'll go back to that journal and kind of bookend it with 3 things that were awesome about the day, which is great because you bookend your day with gratitude from the beginning to the end of the day. So, I'll go from meditation, I'll journal, I'll read. I read 10 pages a day. I'll sit there and do some reading right there. And then the next thing I do typically from there is I will look at my calendar, and I'll look at my, I use a kind of a goal tracking sheet that I follow.
Nice.
And so I'll look at my calendar, and I'll look at my 411 here, and I'll say, okay, what's on my calendar today, and what's on my 411 for my action list that I want to get accomplished this week. And then from there, it ends up doing this right here. This is like the 4 to 5 things that I'm going to get done today. And it's a very old school and analog on this one. I write it with little check boxes on a note card right there. And that's how I run my days. I look at that. Those are my priorities right there. The day doesn't end until I get those things done. So then I'll get through that. Typically, then I'll allocate about an hour that I'll dive into email for an hour. And that's generally the only hour in the day I spend on email. That's been something that just came through last year, because email is the greatest time suck of all time.
Oh yeah.
And I've been very purposeful in starting to minimize the time I spend in email. So I'll spend about an hour in the morning diving through anything that needs to be done. Then I'll go exercise every single day. It's been more than 2 years since I've missed a day of exercise. So that's a big priority and importance. So I'll go exercise for 45 minutes to however long. Like right now I'm in the beginning of the 75 hard program. So that's a new little venture we're on right there. But I get back from exercise, take a shower, hang out with the kids a little bit, give everyone hugs and kisses, and head to the office. And then I'm in the office for the day, and I'll spend that, most of my time is focused working in Legacy of Love and building that company, putting the right people in place and leading that company. I spend some time on Laundry Luv each week. And then, my days wrap up typically around 5 o'clock. And I'll head home. My wife and I generally split cooking dinner 50-50 more or less. And so go home, cook dinner, hang out with the fam. We usually watch something funny on TV. We watch the Goldbergs a lot. And so we'll watch little reruns of something funny, and then we hit the bed by 9. That's my day.
Awesome.
It's very boring. It's very boring and very consistent.
Well, I like that a lot because it's interesting. I asked all of our guests that come on the same question, and then all of them are doing meditation and journaling and affirmations and things like that. So, I'm glad that they hear that. And like I said, it's very motivating. And like I said, for kind of to let the guests know who, if you want success, you want to focus on certain goals, are things that you definitely should be doing in your day-to-day routine. So I appreciate you sharing that. So what about far as your team? Is there any specific tools or resources that you guys use to make you guys more productive, either electronically or physically?
I mean, today, like so much is remote these days. One of my key team members is actually in the Philippines. She's been with me for 7 years, and we communicate. Technology. We communicate via Hangouts every day. We use Google Drive for all of our online drive system right there. I've got like multiple Google Drives for our different companies. So I use everything there. I got a very detailed program to follow right there. I use Slack now for all of my companies in communicating. So technology-wise, those are some big ones right there, and I'm in that every day. Slack, Drive, Hangouts, every day.
Awesome. And you had mentioned it before as far as kind of like part of your day-to-day routine of gratitude. And that's very most important, one of the most important things you could do throughout the day. Can you share for us, what are you most grateful for?
Hands down, my family, my wife and children, and just grateful for the fact that we live in the United States, that we live in Texas, that we're, regardless of our social unrest and our issues that sometimes we have in our society. I mean, we're in my opinion, one of the greatest countries, ever in history. And, really grateful for health, grateful for my health, the health of my family, for it. It sounds weird. I'm really grateful for gratitude in itself, because in having that, it eliminates so many other possibilities of emotions right there, and possibilities of negative emotions. So I've been very intentional over the past few years in putting some practices in place that keep me very positive on things, because there's plenty to be negative about. There's plenty to be bummed out about, or pissed off about, or depressed about, or any of that. And I guess our response to stimulus is our choice.
Exactly. Very well said. I really appreciate that. We'll make sure to have all of your contact information in the show notes, like always. But what's the best way to contact you, as well as even for people who are interested in learning more about your Legacy of Love and Laundry for Love?
Yeah, great. So Laundry Luv is laundryluv.com, laundryluv.com. Legacy of Love is legacyoflove.app, so .app. Kind of find out about both those programs and about me on both of those sites. You can find me at legacyoflove.app is our kind of Instagram page, and you can DM me there if you ever want to kind of connect and get in touch with me there. You kind of go through Legacy of Love Instagram page, probably one of the best ways.
Absolutely. Well, Ken, it was a pleasure having you on, another fellow net lease broker, and also to learn really about like your real passion on entrepreneurship. I always love talking to entrepreneurs on things that they're passionate about, and of course, like I said, the whole mindset productivity section of this interview was great. So it was great. Have a great new year. Best to you and the family. Have a successful year, and look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Dwaine. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey there, this is Dwaine Clarke, your host of the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Show. I want to thank you again for tuning in and hope you're enjoying this valuable content. While I got you for a quick minute, I wanted to send you an invitation to join our growing investor community. It's called the Passive Investors Club. It's a group of like-minded individuals like you who are seeking financial freedom and to build true wealth through passive investing in commercial real estate. We take a totally different approach to investing that is opposite, that is pushed by the financial advisors and what we see in the mainstream media. We like to invest in real assets that we can touch and understand, and that are not subject to the wild swings of the financial markets. We don't want to be part of the herd who pursues the traditional route, leaving our financial future to Wall Street. So if you're interested in joining our group and to sharing resources and opportunities, then go to passiveinvestorsclub.com/join. Joining the club is completely free and there's no obligation. And all our members receive our free Passive Investors course along with tons of resources and content. So again, passiveinvestorsclub.com/join.